Hey, we're live. So let me screen share this. Together, redefine print. Can you guys see this? Isn't
Uh,
it presenting? There we go.
it usually takes a second with lag and everything.
Yeah, I don't know why it's lagging. Anyways, um, we've been discussing this in our Skype chat pretty intensely, so we thought we might do a stream of this. Should I read it, or does anyone else want to read this?
You have at it, man.
Okay. Um, A message to our customers. The United States government has demanded that Apple take an unprecedented step which threatens the security of our customers. We oppose this order, which has implications far beyond the legal case at hand. This moment calls for public discussion, and we want our customers and people around the country to understand what is at stake. The need for encryption. Smartphones, led by iPhone, have become an essential part of our lives. People use them to store an incredible amount of personal information, from our private conversations to our photos, our music, our notes, our calendars and contacts, our financial information and health data, and where we have been and where we are going. All that information needs to be protected from hackers, criminals who want to access it, steal it, and use it without our knowledge or permission. If you guys want to stop, just go ahead and say something.
No, fine.
Okay. Customers expect Apple and other technology companies to do everything in our power to protect their personal information. And at Apple, we are deeply committed to safeguarding their data. Compromising the security of our personal information can ultimately put our personal safety at risk. That is why encryption has become so important to all of us. For many years, we have used encryption to protect our customers' personal data because we believe it's the only way to keep information safe. We even put that data out of our own reach because we believe the contents of your iPhone are none of our business. San Bernardino case. We were shocked and outraged by the deadly act of terrorism in San Bernardino last December. We mourn the loss of life and want justice for all those whose lives were affected. The FBI asked us for help in the days following the attack, and we have worked hard to support the government's efforts to solve this horrible crime. We have no sympathy for terrorists. When the FBI has requested data that's in our possession, we have provided it. All Apple complies with valid subpoenas and search warrants, as we have in the San Bernardino case. We have also made Apple engineers available to advise the FBI, and we've offered our best ideas on a number of investigative options at their disposal. Any comments?
Mm,
Okay.
I'm all in
We
with
have
that on this one.
okay. No comment.
not yet.
Well, I would say
I'll
this
read
right
the whole article
now.
and then comment on it.
It's kind of they're kind of letting the FBI is trying to get away with the fact that they want to do it without warrants, basically
Um,
allowing them to get your data, like
well,
for example text messages, anything, without a warrant.
well, not entirely. We're gonna get to that part. So, we have great respect for the professionals at the FBI, and we believe their intentions are good up to this point. We have done everything that is both within our power and within the law to help them. But now the U.S. government has asked us for something we simply do not have, and something we consider too dangerous to create. They have asked us to build a backdoor to the iPhone. Specifically, the FBI wants us to make a new version of the iPhone operating system, circumventing several important security features, and install it on an iPhone recovered during the investigation. In the wrong hands, this software, which does not exist today, would have potential to unlock any iPhone in someone's physical possession. The FBI may use different words to describe this tool, but to make no mistake, building a version of iOS that bypasses security in this way would undeniably create a backdoor. And while the government may argue that its use would be limited to this case, there's no guarantee such control. Any comment?
I agree.
Okay. Threat to data security. Some would argue that building a backdoor for just one iPhone is a simple, clean-cut solution, but ignores both the basics of digital security and the significance of what government is demanding in this case. In today's digital world, the key to an encrypted system is a piece of information that unlocks the data, and it is only as secure as the protection around it. Once the information is known or a way to bypass the code is revealed, the encryption can be defeated by anyone with that knowledge. Government suggests this tool only be used once on one phone, but that's simply not true. Once created, the technique could be used over and over again on any number of devices. In the physical world, it would be the equivalent of a master key, capable of opening hundreds of millions of locks, from restaurants and banks to stores and homes. No reasonable person would find that acceptable. The government is asking Apple to hack our own users and undermine decades of security advances that protect our own customers, including tens of millions of American citizens from sophisticated hackers and cybercriminals. The same engineers who built strong encryption into the iPhone to protect our users would ironically be ordered to weaken those protections and make our users less safe. I find no precedent of an American company being forced to expose its customers to a greater risk of attack. For years, cryptologists and national security experts have been warning against weakening encryption. Doing so would hurt only the well-meaning and law-abiding citizens who rely on companies like Apple to protect their data. Criminals and bad actors will still encrypt using tools that are really readily available to them. Any comments?
Basically, I've agreed with what they've said so far.
Well, this seems to be the sort of crux of the issue with a lot of the discussions here. A lot of the opposition to Apple seems to be rooted in this sort of fundamental misunderstanding of what exactly is being asked of them. Right? That they're not just some locksmiths that are going over to crack the lock on a single phone and that's it. That's not how it works. What they need Apple to do, what Apple will have to do to get access to that one phone, is to create a master key that is capable of breaking all of their phones, because it's just the standard security that they have. The master key that they create for this one phone will be viable to break all their other security features, and could possibly be redeveloped to attack a variety of other systems. I mean, what they're being asked to create here is sort of a anti-encryption super weapon to completely fry their own security. And Apple is legitimately concerned about that weapon getting into the wrong hands if it is ever made. Because, I mean...
It's actually not even that, because from what I've understood, what it is, it's basically similar. It's like an OS update through a firmware change. And they would make it basically only effective to this phone, but honestly, there's nothing, as you said, there's really nothing that's stopping them from making it available to most phones, if not all phones, with just some minor tweaks to the code.
Yeah, we can discuss all this with when we go through the last paragraph and discuss it properly. Dangerous precedent. Rather than asking for legislative action through Congress, the FBI is proposing an unprecedented use of the All Writs Act of 1789 to justify an expansion of its authority. The government would have us remove security features and add new capabilities to the operating system, allowing a passcode to be input electronically. This would make it easier to unlock an iPhone by brute force, trying thousands or millions of combinations with the speed of a modern computer. The implications of government's demanding are chilling. If the government can use all of its acts to make it easier to unlock your iPhone, it would have the power to reach into anyone's device to capture their data. The government could extend this breach of privacy and demand Apple build surveillance software to intercept your messages, access your health records or financial data, track your location, or even access your phone's microphone or camera without your knowledge. Opposing this is not something we take lightly. We feel like we must speak up in the face of what we see as an overreach by U.S. government. We are challenging the FBI's demands with the deepest respect for American democracy and a love for our country. We believe it would be in the best interest of everyone to step back and consider the implications. While we believe the FBI's intentions are good, it would be wrong for the government to force us to build a backdoor into our products. And ultimately, we fear that this demand would undermine the very freedoms and liberty our government is meant to protect. Thoughts?
I totally agree.
Yeah, totally
Yeah.
agree. They pretty much spelled it out.
Yeah.
Because they want a key that can hack into anything through the iPhone and try to spy on people without a warrant.
Also, what was the law they cited? Because I heard the 1789
Ritz Law.
Ritz Law of 1789. God damn, they're reaching. Like,
Yeah,
Wouldn't be the first
it's
time.
one thing if there's court precedents going back that far, but it's another thing if you're citing a law that old. That's like, what the fuck?
And they said it pretty eloquently, but by saying that if they agree to this, what's gonna happen down the road? That it's gonna be unlimited, basically.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna stop. It's not gonna stop with Apple. They're gonna try other companies, and they can basically access everything everywhere. And we know the U.S. government, by Snowden's what he uncovered or shared to the American people or to the public, was that U.S. government are abusing their power when they spy on Germany and France, or their allies even.
On top
And
of this, go on.
I just wanted to make a point that they're even spying on their allies. So we already know that they're spying on all of us, and this makes it even easier for them to spy on all of us. Go ahead, Noble.
I was going to say, this also opens the door for other governments to force, similar things upon their local companies under similar precedents. Imagine if France went up to, or France and Germany went up to T-Mobile and said, develop this entire backend for your entire network so we can get access to this phone. Would you be as comfortable with that?
Yeah. Would they be comfortable with any fucking companies that might be over in, like, Iran doing that?
Maybe.
I mean, understand, this kind of also borders on a lot of the issues with the TPP and with a sort of extra governmental reach that companies may have. I mean, we're talking about the U.S. government making a decision that will affect kind of all of Apple's users internationally, really.
Basically, yeah, that's what it also implies, because they never said just U.S. citizen, because what's gonna stop them from accessing a phone in, let's say, Afghanistan?
Right. And the other thing, too, is it opens up the door for a fucking witch hunt. Basically, anyone that has the ability to abuse this power could basically just accuse someone of being a fucking terrorist and then get their phone seized, force Apple to fucking hack it, delete any possible incriminating evidence, or just use that to blackmail them, or, just fucking have them thrown in jail because they might be a terrorist.
And
It's
let's
not.
And this,
Hold on. I want to say one thing. And just the fact that the government can do that anyways through other means doesn't make this one any better, motherfuckers.
Actually, to follow up on that, consider that the majority of uses of the Patriot Act haven't really been legitimate. If any of you aren't familiar with the Electronic Frontier Foundation, they do follow-ups and reports on this all the fucking time, and they're probably one of the best sources that you can look up for these sort of casual violations of the government trying to push in against, any of your freedoms.
Yep.
And
Yeah. What I was saying before, I don't understand why, just because the government is doing this already in other avenues, I don't know why in the hell that somehow invalidates my complaints against this, giving them one more reason. I don't understand their fucking argument with that.
Because right now, there are very limited circumstances under which the government can really act like that. And sure, the government can continue to abuse those, but they can only really go so far with them. This is just giving them a blank check to sign to just, piss all over anything,
You're a terrorist, seize him.
Yeah, and I also want to make the distinction of defending terrorists and setting a precedent, because anyone wants to find out if there's any potential threats.
No one's defending the terrorists. That's retarded. No one's defending the fucking terrorists.
No, I'm just making the argument because if there's the data, which I sincerely doubt there's on this phone, but even if it has, Apple even had engineers and solutions for the problem, and they still can't find, and that's still not enough for the FBI. That's just fucking stupid, because they want other people, basically Apple, to pay and create something that the FBI should use. That's just stupid.
Andrew Dahl, did you see the comic I linked in chat a while ago?
Oh no, you have to link it again.
Here, let me just pull it up, because I posted it in Skype a minute ago. I don't have to be able to find it between the arguing.
Well, anyways, while you find it, just let me hammer my point in. The FBI has every reason to go into his phone and find anything, potential threats, and if there are criminals who have been seized, and that means their possessions are part of the investigations. But if this goes through, this basically means they don't even have to see someone. They can just look through your shit, and they can also make charges up, because who knows? That's never happened before, right? Wink, wink.
All right,
that's the
Remember
entire issue here.
Habeas corpus back during the good old days of 9/11.
Yep. 9/11. Anyways, so I found the
You're a terrorist, by the way. You're a terrorist. You should be punished.
You're
going
a
to go
traitor.
after you. You're a traitor.
You're a traitor.
Demonstrable terrorist.
Henry the Eggs is chatting in the chat. He says, you know what this means. More terrorists will use Apple. If I wanted to do something horrible, put all my info onto an Apple phone. That's not how it's going to work.
Listen, anything that can hide from the government, anything that the government doesn't have direct access to, anything at all, any type of privacy measure can probably will be used as an avenue for terrorism. I mean, terrorists don't even need to use Apple. They can use anything that the government can't use. Any kind of.
It's one of those cases where you fill in all the cracks, basically you fill in all the cracks that the terrorists are going to use to fucking hide from the government. They're going to create new cracks. They're going to find ways to do it. It's kind of irrelevant.
We even know this is the case with Windows, where there is a backdoor.
Yeah.
Anyway. This was even discovered by Snowden, so
And
Anyways,
and mind you, the terrorists are just fine, but the users are screwed.
yeah,
Anyways,
basically.
so this comic, I want to read this out. It's kind of satirical in how they do it, but it brings up a really good fucking point. So they've got this woman from Apple basically talking to an FBI agent, and the Apple person says, "So you can force me to undermine my own software to make yours. That doesn't seem right." The FBI agent responds, "And while you're at it, I don't like those annoying pop-up reminders to update my iOS. Remove them." And then he says again, "Also, I'm a big fan of poetry, so along with writing software, I want you to write me some poems." And then Apple responds, "This is outrageous. How dare you tell me what to write? This is the U.S. How can you force me to write or say something I don't want to?" You're damn right.
Yeah. And they're trying so hard too, so hard.
Yep.
Let's see. Feds, Henry the Egg again. Apple's stand against U.S. is a marketing strategy. I don't think so. I seriously.
Yeah, sure. Who are they marketing to?
To possibly third-party
You have to have a
businesses.
target audience if you're marketing to someone, dude.
Yeah.
They're not marketing because terrorists are not gonna use conventional ways to communicate to make it obvious for anyone. So
Are they marketing to the terrorists? Is that a huge demographic that
Yeah,
Apple
that's such a
really?
huge demographic.
At Apple, we market to anybody, including terrorists.
I think that's kind of the same argument saying people who shoot other people who for some reason played video games. We have to. Is that somehow a marketing strategy of games because GTA is getting commercial every time there's a shooting? No, that's not how it works.
Not only that, but it's like, how often do you think a terrorist is actually going to pay for the phone anyways? They're more than likely going to be stealing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they're really intent on using that phone to communicate, they're not going to want a record of it that people can trace. Hey, this person that's on this watch list bought an iPhone. That encryption is really good.
Maybe we should look into it.
Yeah. Maybe we should create a watch list that everyone in the USA can look at, like a public watch list of everyone that's bought iPhones in the past 15 years. Let's do it, guys. Let's violate
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, what's up?
Hey.
I had a fucking migraine. I just wanted to wait till it eased off a little more before I got it.
Oh, we're talking about the Apple thing. I don't know if you're.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I've heard the whole story actually. It's a
He's seen some shit.
who agrees with Apple, Apple, and who disagrees with Apple.
I agree with that. I think everyone in here agrees with Apple so far.
Yeah, because the reason is that a lot of this stuff is if the Apple actually decided to agree to help the FBI here and open the phone and create this backdoor program, because the FBI is not just asking them to open this specific phone, they want a backdoor into every single iPhone.
Yeah.
So nope, fuck you. That's not gonna happen.
Well, in this particular case, they may not want the backdoor to the entire system, but it sets a precedent that would fucking allow them to do that at their whim.
What I was questioning a little bit, if the FBI really needs that information on that phone, I mean, because there was even speculation that Apple themselves could not open this phone. If Apple wanted to help the FBI get this specific phone open, they couldn't even do that because the information would, as far as I understand it, I spoke to a friend of mine. He knows a lot more about the phone than I do. He said that if they try to brute force their way into the phone, the information will become corrupted. So that's why
Well,
they.
that's why they're actually going to Apple in the first place, because of the way the encryption works. They're afraid that because of the way the iPhone is set up, you can have it set up so that way if someone tries to break into your phone and they fuck up your password 10 times, it can wipe the data. That's what they're afraid of, and that's why they want Apple to help, because they don't want to lose the data.
Well, here's the thing: if Apple doesn't have to create a backdoor for the FBI, what they can do is if a court order is sent out that asks Apple specifically to open this specific phone, but without creating a backdoor, but they just get it open. I don't see a problem with it, because they're not creating a backdoor for the FBI to all iPhones. They're just opening up a phone.
No, that's the problem, though. They're only going to be able to get the phone open through that backdoor, and that's why they have a problem with it, because they don't agree with actually creating that in order to access it.
Yeah,
Not
they
only
want.
not only that, but you still have the problem of creating the precedent. The government can force a company to create a backdoor to open someone's phone on either legitimate charges or false charges. Doesn't matter.
Wasn't this a huge
Yeah,
thing with? Wasn't this a huge thing? Oh, go ahead, man. Sorry.
No, it's just something from the chat where a little bit of information. Nilk1 from the chat says, I don't get why they can't just mirror the flash memory chips into dummy device and thus have no danger or wiping the original when they fail 10 brute forces. I mean, unless they want cloud data, but once you get into the device itself, you can get the cloud data. Basically making it a sophisticated way for the FBI to get in. But
yeah, I don't know enough about phones to comment on that, so I'll just not say anything.
Well, here's the thing.
but I think they failed on that. That's the issue.
Well, here's the thing about here's the thing about the iOS. I mean, iOS is basically OS 10 running on a mobile device. The problem with OS 10 is that it's probably one of the most secure operating systems in the world, and the source is so fucking closed. It's crazy. But I still find it kind of laughable that the U.S. government is not able to open a mobile phone. Millions of dollars in national defense.
No, you're missing something, because they actually, I can't remember where I remember seeing this, but they actually addressed this. One of the main reasons why they sought Apple out was not only for the whole, it's going to wipe the information after 10 failed tries, but they apparently, according to the FBI, they could override it, they could find a way to hack it in, but the problem is that because of the encryption, the way it works, there are so many different variables, and the way the system is set up as it is currently without Apple's intervention, it usually between failed attempts with the way that they would be doing this, you'd have to wait an hour between attempts. And basically it comes down to the FBI not wanting to spend time waiting for it and being lazy. Because there's something like over 15,000 different possibilities, and it'd take an hour in between each one.
Well, here's the thing, though. I mean, I get that they're afraid of the data being destroyed, but somebody brought up an interesting point here. Why not mirror the data? Why not copy the entire data over to another device?
A minute ago.
Yeah.
We're not sure, because I'm not a phone expert, and you said something about it being cloud data or something like that.
Well, here, basically, what Neil K1 is saying, basically mirror the chip, basically copying the chip and the information without exposing it, and trying to get into the mirror one first, and then try to go into the real one. Basically trying it out. Yeah, basically trying it out before you go on the real thing.
Yeah, you cloning the phone and then trying it on the phone.
Yeah, that's the thing. I have programmed on Android, not so much on Mac. I know a little bit of how to code on it, but I'm not so sophisticated that I know how it's encrypted and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I don't think anyone in here is.
Well, it depends on the application. I mean, app developers, people who develop apps for the iPhone, they have their own development tool that Apple actually gives out. And it's what can I say about it? It's a very practical way of developing apps. They simplify the development process very closely. So it's not like if you want to, you can write every single line of code, but it doesn't require you to do that. You can actually, like a puzzle, just put together different elements without actually writing any code. So, I don't know. Android is like Linux kind of esque, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not too familiar with Android. So.
well, Android uses XML and basic coding. So I have made an app in it, but I'm not too familiar with the OS on an iPhone because I haven't coded in it, so I can't really comment on
One thing though, I gotta say that Apple iPhones will sure as hell become more popular in the Middle East from now on.
Yeah. If they don't just steal the fucking phones.
Yeah, they can easily open up the thing without any problems.
But I don't think this is anything to say for the terrorists, because they're gonna steal or use alternative ways to communicate, as we kind of said earlier.
Yeah, exactly. Like even if Apple, even if Apple fucking acquiesced to the FBI and it basically made Apple products unusable for the terrorists, they're gonna find other ways to do their shit. They always will.
Well, here's the thing, though. There was a report a couple of years ago. I believe it was the Department of Homeland Security that came out with this report regarding how terrorists communicate and the terrorist groups communicate. They actually use a lot of old school stuff to communicate. They are staying the hell away from the digital network and actually rely on old school shit, like hell, even passing messages that they, like old school spy kind of shit where they pass messages written on paper, and if they are ever in risk of getting caught, they fucking just eat that tiny piece of paper, like they did back in the like the CIA did back in the 60s. So there's a lot of old school shit they do as well, a lot of analog shit. So it's smart. It's really clever because you're staying off the grid. Technically, you're staying away from the internet. You're not risking being caught by leaving a digital footprint. Instead, you go full retro, and that works.
Yeah, I think that's kind of going along with what Androdol is saying, and I would agree that even if they did have information on the phone, which I highly doubt, because that'd be monumentally fucking stupid. Hey, let's keep plans on my phone and then go shoot up a place. Like, real smart.
Here's an idea. Here's a conspiracy theory for you. I'm sorry, Androdol.
No, that's just someone in the chat. Go ahead.
Well, the conspiracy theory is the FBI wants information, and they're willing to put spyware into your phone in order to spy on you. In order to do that, they have to bypass all the security using a secret key code. In order to do that, they have to have official approval by Apple to do so.
Yeah, the official firmware update codes.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't think it's going to happen, because even though Apple did the right thing by saying, listen, we're not trying to, we do support the FBI, but we don't want to do what they are asking us to do.
I gotta say though, it's really interesting to see how this will turn out, because I have a feeling, given the U.S. government's influence, and with the Patriot Act and a lot of these national security laws that are in place in the U.S. at the moment, they could, in theory, force Apple's hand. The problem is, how is Apple going to respond? And how is, I mean, they already said no now, but if a court order overrides it, because isn't it a law? Isn't it a law in the United States that if it's a matter of national security, they could potentially, that gives them a mandate to do whatever the hell they want to do?
No, they can request access to the information, but not ask a company to do work
not
for
only
them.
that, I think this falls under the same subject as like torture. You're gonna force someone to create something that does the job for you. Sure, yeah, good luck with that. Not only that, but if they've already said no now, like, what do you think their answer is going to be when a court orders it? What are you going to do? Put them in jail and then you'll never get them to fucking do it? You
Well,
going to threaten
they
to
made
kidnap their fucking family and force them to do it that way through blackmail? Like, what the fuck are they going to stoop to?
well, a crazier thing has happened.
I
But
know,
the
I'm
problem,
not saying that shit's impossible. I'm just saying that that'd be really fucked up if they went that far.
well, here's the thing, though. I mean, there's a lot. I don't think that's going to happen. Honestly, I don't think that's going to happen. But the thing that could happen is that if they say that opening this phone is a matter of national security, then they could then FBI or DHS could, if the Supreme Court, and they get the courts on their side, if they rule that this is a national security issue, then in theory, Homeland Security could walk straight into Apple headquarters and demand them to do it.
Right.
And,
But again, they can demand all they want, but they can't force someone to do something they don't want to do.
well, once the threat of once it's national security issue, if you stand in the way of that, you could technically be labeled treason. So how many people
no,
in
what they can do is fine Apple or impose some sort of penalty for not cooperating.
Yeah. Basically, I think the best they can do, unless they want to be really ballsy and try that treason thing, is basically obstruction of justice.
Yeah, I don't
Not
see
only that, not only that. Hold on.
That's not what they're doing, though.
Hold on. I actually want to say this because I just now thought about this. Not only that, but if they did end up, going to court for this and stuff like that, I would, and they, the FBI pulled the whole national security thing. I would basically pull the, hey, there's no spectral evidence allowed in court proceedings. Provide evidence that this is national security, and then we'll comply. If they can't fucking do that, then piss off.
Yeah, it's gonna be. Yeah, I agree with that. And but besides, I just wanted to say that I don't picture Tim Cook being let out of Apple HQ in handcuffs. I'm not seeing that happen anytime soon. But it's a very interesting situation. But it's also kind of weird that we have gotten to this point. And it's like people, I got to give props to Apple for the way they responded here. They really stuck up for privacy rights here, because this is really not about terrorism in any way, shape, or form. This is about the government gaining unprecedented access to people's private information. So that is, I gotta say, I have my opinions about Apple, but I think they are fully in the right here. I'm just worried about the consequences, because there is a huge, complicated bureaucracy in the United States, and it's going to be interesting to see how this develops. It seems to be a kind of like a power play between the FBI and Apple at the moment, and I'm hoping that's where it stays.
The only thing that really has me worried about the whole setup is, depending on how long this whole fucking kerfluffle takes, it might be an issue that comes up in the next election.
It already has, to a point. I mean,
Wow.
it kind of, the whole privacy rights and the government spying issue, it has become a talking point.
Well, yeah, the government spying is slightly different, though.
Yeah, but it's part of the same problem, and
right.
but
they fall under the same umbrella, but it's a separate topic, technically.
Yeah, okay. I can agree. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens, anyways. I don't think I think Apple is probably going to stand their ground and refuse to accept anything that the FBI is demanding them to do, and it's going to be this long bureaucratic power play. And unless the FBI actually manage to convince somebody very high up that this is a national security issue, then nothing is going to happen. And that phone will forever be locked with all its secrets. So you know, I'm suddenly reminded by a line from Die Hard 2 after he kills a bunch of guys and he can't access the radio that one of the terrorists has, and the cop says, "Hey, next time before you kill one of these guys, get him to enter the code first."
Well, I have from the chat Neil K1. He seems to be knowledgeable, but yeah, there's no reason they need a backdoor to crack this. They have the tools they need already. It's just a lie to get a foot in the door to fuck encryption. As a side note, iPhone, yeah, basically the program Android is Java, yeah, which I kind of knew. But basically, what he's saying is they don't even need this to access the information. It's to get them a foot in the door to get something down the line, which we've kind of said all the time. And all the fappening stuff wasn't really an issue with Apple either. So yeah, again, they even had themselves investigated by a third party, I believe. I have an issue with their overpriced hardware and software, but that's a whole other issue, because I fully support them on this, because I think that they're even being unconstitutional that the FBI is even asking for this.
Yep, I agree.
Because you don't have a right to know what everyone is fucking doing at every time of the day.
Or making selfies of themselves in the nude.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna get all the information, and if Apple says yes to this, what do you think is gonna happen with all their customers?
Exactly.
They're gonna flee. This would be the worst strategy ever to give them the access.
That's why I'm pretty much 100% certain they're not going to fucking do it unless they're basically held a gun to their head.
Basically, because this
or
would be the worst strategy ever. They're like screaming out to everyone, "Hey, don't buy our fucking shit."
You know, I wonder what's going to happen. It'd be an interesting thing to think about. What happens if they say yes, they break into the phone, Apple goes out of business because they lose all their fucking customers, and they lose all their money, and then, the terrorists still using Apple iPhones that the FBI can't get into because, it might be an older Apple iPhone with still good encryption, but, Apple's out of business, so they can't force them to fucking do what they want them to. That'd be funny.
There was somebody made a funny meme online. There's this guy with a turban sitting in the middle of the desert with an iPhone, and he's like, "Who? Thank God, my Hearthstone account is safe." He was like,
I'd make that into a commercial for, I think it's like, what, US Cellular? Oh, I got a signal even out here.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because this would not only be unconstitutional, it would also be suicide for the product.
Right.
For Apple, it's kind of gone more quietly. I don't know if Microsoft still has that backdoor in Windows 10, but they had it with Windows 8. I know this. I read an article a while back because the NSA had access. There was some spyware in Windows 8, making it possible to go in the back door to access information. But I don't think that's the case with Windows 10. I might be mistaken, but that's what I've heard or read at least. And it would, again, if this would be with Windows, and Linux would never allow this shit. It's just a suicide for your product.
Wait a minute, isn't Linux open source? Anybody can do whatever the hell they want to do with the source
Yeah,
code.
basically,
Anyways.
but
I think he meant Apple instead of Linux.
no, I just meant the Linux system, because
Well, here's the thing.
it's not, nobody's gonna
Let me talk-
access it because of a warrant or
me talk-
something.
Let me touch on this briefly. First of all, Linux is completely open. Anybody can go in and change whatever the hell they want. That's the
Yeah, no.
idea with Linux. Second of all, there is also a huge There's also another phone that is really popular besides iPhone, and that is the Samsung phones. They run Android again, and they are not safe at all. It's really easy to break into an Android phone. That is probably really easy because it's basically the same system running on multiple phones, and it's open source, so that also makes it easy. Even though Samsung has made their own version of Android running on their phones, and most people have been able to crack it. So I'm actually surprised that Samsung is doing so
and
well
that
with a lot of people.
That explains why people on issues being hacked with their accounts using their phones, because the fact that people were complaining about the issues of being hacked online, that would explain why. Because because people probably were using Android phones.
Yeah, there was actually this thing that happened. We actually tried this out at my school at one time just to test out what we could achieve with the Samsung phone, and we had this application that a guy in Britain wrote, where you hijack the Wi-Fi network and you can actually access what people are doing. Every single person who is attached to the Wi-Fi network, and we tested it. We made a closed Wi-Fi setup just to test it out, and we had several people connect and just surf and browse, do whatever you want, and we're gonna test and see if we can actually see what the hell you're doing. And we could see what site they were on. We could even see what they were typing. It's ridiculous how easy it is to access anybody.
Yeah, and Neil K1 is kind of your point on. He says Android is easier to crack than iOS only because iOS has obscurity security. Since Android's OS source is public, it's easier to know how to exploit things that are coded poorly, or know how to get in through Android apps that are insecure.
Yeah.
I think he meant unsafe, not insecure. A program can be insecure. That would be funny.
You're insecure!
Yeah, and we kind of heard this talk after 9/11 on this whole we should be able to listen on your phone calls after 9/11, and it's kind of the same thing over again. I feel, at least.
Yeah, it really is. It's not exactly the same, but it's dangerously close.
Yeah. Well, it's the closest thing we can compare it to, at least.
Right.
I mean, Andrea Dahl, you probably know this, but here in Norway, they have enacted some pretty crazy-ass laws given internet security as well. I mean, we have, but also some really pointless and laws that doesn't make any sense whatsoever because they don't really do anything. They had several broadband providers block Pirate Bay, but it was like, oh no, it's going to take people of real expertise to access Pirate Bay again. And it was like 2 minutes, and somebody pointed out to this stupid woman in the Labour Party who proposed this idea that, hey, it took me 2 seconds, I'm back in.
The day after, they just changed their site address, and people could access the or use a VPN or proxies. It's just so fucking stupid.
They have a site called
7,000 proxies, bitches.
They have a site
Proxy
called
Bay, yeah.
They have a site called Pirate Unblocker, Now, what that is essentially a list of addresses, alternative addresses that all lead to the Pirate Bay.
That's Proxy Bay, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. There's a shit ton of addresses, but they all lead to Pirate Bay.
Which
So
they're trying to block that site, right?
they tried several times, but I mean the broadband providers, they're not going to cause a fuss over this because they hate blocking shit. The only reason they did it was because they were kind of forced into it by the government. And if anything goes wrong, and torrent downloading is still going on, so if anybody asks them, that's like, hey, we blocked the sites that you wanted us to block, so we can't control every single thing that is on the internet. So that's what they're gonna say.
That's weird.
So yeah, is there anything more you wanted to say on this issue, or we can continue some more private stuff off air since what happened? And yeah, we can do this off air. Anything else you want to cover, or?
No, that's pretty much it for me.
All right, we
What?
can continue off air with some of more private discussion. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and see you guys next time. Bye.